I'm Stephen Taylor. I'm a learning technologist at Blackpool and Fylde College, and I've been experimenting with using Power Automate and Flow to make my life easier because, I'm fundamentally quite lazy. And if we can get things, working for us, doing all of those basic little things for us, it makes life so much better. So I'm going to start off. The thing for this PowerPoint is it's just going to give you step by step. So I'm going to jump this through to the end of the PowerPoint so you can go back to it at will. And then I'm going to start going through exactly what those steps are. So as you can see, I've set it up, this one, so it talks you through every part of it. On your screens, you will be able to go back through this and read it at your own pace. So this thing is all about how you use Power Automate to set up a automated register for yourself, but it follows the same sort of steps all the way through. So once I've got to the last page, which is coming up in a moment, then you'll be able to go back through it as we're talking. Bear with me. I've tried to make it as clear as possible for everybody. There we go. Unfortunately, my internet's not coping very well with me coming back into work today for some reason. So Power Automate, the idea, no, this one's at academic staff or at administrators, either way. It's basically how you can use this software called Power Automate to make your life easier. That's what we're trying to do. So when you come to office.com and you sign in with your organizational information, one of the options that you should have under all apps will be Power Automate. So that's this one here. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to set up automatic things. So when you get an email, something will happen. It'll notify you. It'll take the information from it. When a form's completed, it'll fill in various spreadsheets for you without you having to go and copy it manually across. It can troll Twitter for you. It can do all sorts of different things. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the whole thing and then talk us through setting one up for the sort of common things that you might need to happen in your classroom. Just wait for that to think. Do apologise for this. There we go. So when you come onto Power Automate initially, you've got a search bar, so you can search for whatever it is you're particularly wanting to do. So give me an idea of something that you would do on a daily basis that you would love to be automated. Feel free to either shout it out or type it in the chat. So class registers, for instance, survey responses appended to a spreadsheet. Well, that's one I can definitely do quickly for you. So if I type in form on there for Microsoft Forms, these are all the different things that it will automatically do for you with Microsoft Forms. And these are things that have already been set up. So all you need to go in and do is fill in the information. So there's all sorts of different things in there to make your life, well, much easier. So there, track Microsoft Forms response in Excel and notify through Teams and email, for instance. When we're looking at Teams, we can put Teams in here. And you can post messages to Teams based on Planner. You can get notifications through Teams from Forms, things like that. Automatically sending to a OneNote notebook. Might be able to do that one. I haven't tried doing that myself yet, but I can't see any reason why not to. But the good thing is, there's loads of things that are already set up for you. And it works with all sorts of different connectors, as they're called. So I'll talk you through connectors first, then I'll show you how we build one, and then I'll answer any questions after that. So if I go into the connectors, these are the things that you can work with using Power Automate. Now, not all of them are free. Some of them are premium as well. But if I scroll down, there's something like 354 different connectors out there that work. So you've got all the Office things for you. But as we go further down, we've got Dropbox, we've got Google things are in there. All sorts of different things that might be useful for you going forward is there for you. Obviously, the premium ones you have to pay for individually. So I won't be showing any of those ones, unfortunately, today. But you've got your Google things, so you don't have to be Microsoft only for it. Lots and lots and lots and lots of different stuff that's available to you. And when we go on to create, this is where everything starts to come together. So you can set it up that you have something that's automated. So that's when X happens, do Y. These instant ones, you create a button effectively. Push a button, it happens. Scheduled ones, that's you set a time. So say you wanted something to happen every day, you could set it at the same time every day. And then we've got UI ones and business process ones, which are a little bit more complicated and probably not necessarily needed on our level of things. And they've got templates for you as well. Again, you can search through and it might do things for you. But I'm going to go from scratch because that's how I taught myself. So it's just easier to show. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to put in a name for it. So I'm going to call it Digilearnsector test. And then you pick a trigger. So this is, what is the first step that you want this to be associated with? What's the first thing that's going to happen? So we've got things like Microsoft Forms, when things go into SharePoint, when files go into OneDrive, if you get a planner task, when something comes through an RSS feed or through Gmail, if a student's put a message in Teams, all sorts of different things can be used for it. So I'm going to go with Forms for this one. There we go. And then I'm going to build a form to use for it. So I'm going to go back to Office. I'm going to go into Forms. And let's call it Digilearn test. Going to just add in a quick question of, has this been useful to you? With yes and no as the options. So as required, and that's our form now built, ready to go. So wait for it to save and go back into the Power Automate. Unfortunately, because I've just built it, I'm going to have to refresh the page and then pick that form. So when I click on the drop down, all the forms that I've got available that I've made are there. So I find the one that I'm looking for, which in this case is the Digilearnsector test. And then I click New Step. So what you have to do then is get it to be able to read the form. So this has said something new has happened to that form. you then need it to read what it is. So you have to type form in again and get response details. And again, you've got to pick the same form. And the response ID is the one option that comes up. This is really useful. It tells you all the options that you've got here. So I'll click that, and then I can click a new step. So we've got the form, something new has happened there. We've got the information. What do we want to do with that information? Now, one thing that's really useful is to put things into spreadsheets. That's what we do all the time. And usually with a form, you'd have to go in, you'd have to go into responses, you'd have to open it up in Excel and go through everything that's there. What's good with this is you can decide exactly what you want to be coming into that form, and you don't need to touch the form at all. It'll all appear for you. So I'm going to go Excel Online Business, and I am going to put in add a row into a table. So this is just going to add a new row every time that something's added. You can set it to update a row. It just becomes a little bit more complicated then. With the add a row, it's just going to make a big long list for you. For the update one, you're going to say, right, so if it's coming from this person, I want you to change the details that they've put in. So you've got the different options there for you. I'm going to go add a row into a table there. Now for this to work, we need a table. So let's go into Excel. Let's make a new workbook. And we'll go for email, date, and answer on that one. And then we're going to turn that into a table. So we go insert and table. There we go. And I will just give this a name, Digilearnsector test. There we go. And again, back into here, we should now be able to find it by going to your OneDrive for Business, going for OneDrive, and then you look for that file that you've just made. There we go, Digilearnsector test.xlsx there. And then select a table from the drop down. It'll be called table 1. There might be more tables in there. You've just got to know which one it is that you're referring to. Select table 1. And then here we've got email, date, and answer. So it's read what that table says. So in the email, we're going to want the responder's email. So we put that in. In the date, we're going to want the submission time. And in the answer, we want, has this been useful to you? Now, obviously, you can set that up to have all sorts of different things in it. So you could have multiple questions, and you want to take the different answers from it. You might just want the yes or no things. It's up to you what you want in there. But we've got that there. Once you've filled that bit in, and you press save, it's now going to work for us. So you have to click test to see. Now, it says there's no previous ones at the moment. So you have to do, I'll perform the trigger action, save and test. And then you go into your form, you do the preview, and you test it. And when you go back into Power Automate, it's thinking through, it says it's run successfully. Let's go into our Excel spreadsheet. There we go. My email address, the date and time, and yes, it has happened. So that's at the very basic level. This is what you can do with it. You can use it to fill in a spreadsheet that looks exactly how you want it to look. That has all the data in that you want it to have. And you can actually set it so it goes into multiple spreadsheets. So say you were doing grades, for instance, using assignments through forms on Microsoft Teams, and you got it all automatically marking. You could have it set that if so many questions are correct, it goes into one spreadsheet. If they've got things wrong, it goes into another spreadsheet. If things are particularly wrong, then it's going to send an email to people about it. So you get all sorts of different things that you can add in as we go. So if I wanted to have that only the yeses went into here, I can add an action in here, and I can add some control to it. So in our control, if has this been useful for you is equal to yes, well, in this case, you add the action, and that's where you put in your Excel table. So it's going to go into that one for us. So we do all of that again that we've got here. If no, maybe you'd want to send an email to them and say, well, okay, you've said no, it's not. How can we do this? What have we got? So we can actually put in Office 365 Outlook, and we can put in send an email. And in the to, you can put their email address. You have to click this add dynamic content to get it. Responder's email. Subject. Sorry to hear your dissatisfaction. Put in a bit about, say, in our survey, you said it wasn't useful to you. How can we help further? So you've got that sort of thing that you can do, and it'll be based on if they haven't said it's been useful, they're going to get that email. So that works really well. Looking in here, the student bot thing. Yes, the Q&A maker works really, really well for it. They are building bots for you to answer things with the Power tools at the moment. A brand new one's come out in the past month, because it definitely wasn't there a month ago, called Power Virtual Agent or Virtual Assistant. So that, again, I've not looked into it in any depth because I only saw it this morning, but that then allows you to build bots to answer questions for you. There's a question in about the date time format. However you format it in Excel is how it's going to look. So obviously Excel has just automatically put it in the American way because it's an American company, but you can change it however you want it to be. Same thing with it. The Excel spreadsheet just works as an Excel spreadsheet does. So if we were to go onto there, go into our number format, set it to date, and we want it like that in UK. There we go. That'll then change it for you. So that does still work. So the Power Automate is basically just giving you a big set of things that you can do with it. If I show you some of the flows that I've made. So where was the one that I did the other day? Was it that one? Yeah, so again, I've got another email on there. You can actually add multiple conditions into this and say, do you want and or do you want or? And then you can decide if this is happening and we've got all of these, what do you want to happen from it? So I built one, unfortunately not in my instance, but in somebody else's instance for them, where we had, before students went out on work placements, they have to complete a form saying they've read all the documentation that they need. And we set it up, if at any point it was not equal to yes in these 9 questions, then an email would be sent to them saying, for this one you answered yes, for this one you answered yes, for this one you answered no. Please contact your tutor. But we also set it up that their tutor would automatically get that email as well. So you've got all those different things that can work with it. We go into the AI builder. This is another one that's come along again within the past month. This is taking it beyond just automation and into artificial intelligence. It's not free, however. You need a 30-day free trial on this one. So with this, you'd be able to set up a bot yourself personally to do things. They do things like detecting objects, putting things in the correct category for you, processing forms for you. There's all sorts of different things that you can do with it. And that other one I was talking about would be our virtual agent. Which is this one. So you can create AI chatbots for yourself using it. But again, it's not free. It's just there as a thing that's available for you. So the power thing is very, very powerful. There's all sorts of different things in there. And the idea behind it is all of this you could do yourself. You could do it with code. It'd just take a very long time and you'd have to learn how to code it. This talks you through it step by step. So as you go, it's building all of the different questions. So if I go for a more complex form than one that just has a yes or no on it. So if I go for... There's a good one for it. That one. And do those same steps again. We go in, we get the data coming from the form. Like that. And we go into the spreadsheet for us. Again, it doesn't have to be a spreadsheet. I could be putting this in anywhere. It's just a spreadsheet tends to be what people use the most often for things. So obviously it takes a while because you have to go through all the steps for it. Here, we're on table 1. So now there's a lot more options on what you can put in, and you can search by each thing that you're looking for. So whatever you've called the questions, you're then able to find it and put that in. And yes, a lot of the apps aren't free, unfortunately. One that would be amazing if it was free would be Microsoft Word, because that's not available for free on there. But that has the ability to build a certificate for you as you go. So you do things where you might want to put certificates together for them. You know, this populated Microsoft Word template, you could build your certificate out, so then it fills in with the information for you. But it's premium, unfortunately. Or you can convert things to PDFs. We've got things like with MailChimp. Although that's a trigger rather than an action, I believe. Oh, no. Obviously spelling something wrong there on it. But you do have all these different things that you can pick from. So our premium ones do become that bit more. So there's MailChimp. Oh, it's because it's got a capital C and that's why I wasn't put into it. But if there's something that you are using and this would make life easier for you, then it could be worth investing that little bit into it for it. Very quickly, once you've got it made, when you come into My Flows, you can see them here. You can see the ones that you've got, and it tells you whether they're working or not. Obviously, if you haven't used it for a while, it becomes suspended. It also lives within Teams and into here and there. Within this, it's called flow because that's what it used to be called. So if you go plus and then you find a flow that you want to use, so that one, it then works exactly the same again. And it starts to think. There's a flow I've created for this. And in this one, it's saying if somebody's filled in this form and they haven't filled in something correctly, then it needs to go into Teams and say, hey, you've not filled this in correctly. Now, when I first made this, I didn't have access to the thing where it says what their name was, so that's what would come out. So instead, I ended up having it as email addresses came through. And as you can see, it's saying, please ensure you add this to that tweet into this folder with the name for it, just to make sure that they've not missed what they need to be doing. So it's a really useful tool and well worth playing around with. It looks a lot more confusing than it actually is. It really does. But with just a little bit of toying with it, it can do all sorts of different things for you. So with this one, I ended up populating a SharePoint rather than an Excel spreadsheet for it. So it's gone to a SharePoint list. But it's the same thing again for you. So that is a whistle-stop tour of Power Automate. Are there any questions? It is important to note if you're going to use Excel for things, then you do need to have it set up in table format. And one thing I've found is lots of people don't actually realize how easy it is to build things now. I'll come back to that question in a second, if we can do that. Bernard, yes, you can with that one. A PDF from a form. That's a good question. I'll have a look at that in a second. But in Excel, when you wanted to create tables, have your headings in, whatever it is that you want them to be, and then just highlight it and click Insert and Table. And if you click this My Table as headers, it sets it up for you. And now you can search this table and sort it by name, sort it by date, or sort it by grade. And you can do all sorts of different things with that as well. And so many people don't know that that exists. And when they're making a table, they'll colour it in themselves. But this does all sorts of stuff for you from here. Again, I won't go into it today because it's a big load of things that you can do with that. But you can start manipulating all the data across spreadsheets using this if you wanted to, which is very useful. Going back into the flows then, let's see if we can do based on keywords in an email. So no, you can do it based on, oh, well, actually, I suppose you could do. Let's see what that one does. So from my inbox. So you can filter it by subject for it on that one, but it looks like you can't do it by text, unfortunately. So you can say, if it's a subject about this, or if it's from my boss, for instance, you can put that in and then have it do stuff based on that for you. If you've got the Office app on your phone and Flow on your phone, it could send a notification through to your phone to say, you've got an email from your boss, you best check it. So it doesn't quite go down to the keyword function yet, unfortunately. A regular thing into Teams, that one would be, let's go back into here. So for that one, you're looking for RSS feed, and you need to find the RSS feed of the news site that you're looking at. So when something new comes in onto BBC News, for instance, it will then feed through, and whatever you put in your next steps, it'll do that with it for you. I do a bit of both with mine on that one, Krista. I teach faculty how to do it, but the way that I teach them will be to go on to Teams with them in a meeting, and we'll work through it together on there. If they can't follow along with it, if they're struggling a lot, then I'll probably build it for them. But the majority of people have been able to keep up with it and figure it out. Microsoft does have a really useful Learn tool down here, which is the it's the IT professional version of the Education Centre, really. So this actually does talk you through how you set them up one at a time. So you can go through it step by step by step on there. And they're quite good. We've got the basics of Power Automate. I think it's this one. Yeah. So we've got the introduction to Power Automate and build more complex flows with Power Automate are part of our staff digital upskilling course that they have to do. So it helps talk them through it that way. I'm just looking at the thing there. Oh, so it comes through as an email to you. You could set that up, Bernard, that when that email comes through from that, wherever it is that you get that email from. So again, let me just close out of that and create a new one. So we'd want to go to Outlook, and when a new email arrives, so go, it has to have come from whoever that's coming from. With that, you then go on to your next step, and that would be you'd want to go into Teams, and you'd want to post a message. And there's quite a lot of different things for posting, but here we go. Let's post a message v3. And in the body of the message, the dynamic content, you'd want to pick the body of the message there. So that will then take anything that was in that email, put it in this message, and put it into Teams for you. Does that make sense for you, Bernard? Ah, good. And obviously you'd have to pick, I want it to go into which class I want it to go into, and then even which channel. Do you want it in general? Do you want it in a specific channel? How do you want it to go? And for things like the Digilearnsector, you could actually set this up that when something is on Twitter, so when a new tweet is posted, so obviously you have to sign in. So whenever Digilearnsector is mentioned, it could then put something into the Digilearnsector team for them and just put whatever that tweet is in. So that'd be the tweet text. It's been very much whistle stop, but I'm by no means an expert on this. I just use it a lot at the moment. Connor, you asked what do I use it for the most? At the moment, it's for taking things. You know, when you've got a spreadsheet that you need to fill in, and then it also needs to go into another one at the same that your boss needs to see and that other people need to see. I use it for stuff like that. So I've got it set up that if I'm filling something in this Excel spreadsheet, and I know it has to go into this one and this one and this one, instead of me having to copy and paste it, I just set up a flow, and then it does it for me. Yes, you can. You can use it, but again, the AI builder isn't free, and it might be better to use the virtual agents, because that seems to be what Microsoft are wanting you to go for. Again, I've only seen this morning when I was looking into it, so yeah, it's not cheap either, which is fun. It might be cheaper for education establishments, but I'm not entirely sure. And then the AI builder itself isn't free either. I have a feeling it's basically taking their Azure service that they've got and doing the hard work for you. So you're just it becomes software as a service for you rather than you having to do some of the coding yourself. So unfortunately, it doesn't have the pricing for the AI builder. Yes, you can set that up to do that, Leah. So back in our flows, and again, going back to our Outlook one. So in this case, it'd be where would you put it? When a new email arrives, and then you pick which folder you want it to go in. So you'll have different options there. So when it goes into that folder, so I've got different ones there for various different things. So I could click on that and say, if something's gone into that folder specifically, this is what I want it to do. I'm just going back through the chat, seeing if there's any other questions. I haven't used any instant flows yet, because again, I've just used mine for automation. But again, it's the same thing. Do you want it to be based on the button for your mobile? Or when a file has something on or something done to it? So they're the options that you've got for your instant ones. So you have to download the Flow app on your phone, but you'd then be able to just touch a button and it goes. So again, it just misses out that you're not putting in that thing anymore. You're just putting the actions in. So I push that button. What do I want to happen? The Microsoft Learn toolkit I found hilarious for it, because obviously we're educators, so we're not quite the same as other jobs and other employees might be. So the one it talks you through in that is set up a button on your phone that you can push to tell your boss that you're going to be late into work that day, or even better, that you're not going to make it in because of traffic and you'll be working from home that day. And when I first saw that back in December, that gave me a good giggle, because could you imagine trying to do that to your boss as an educator?